whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
I should put myself on the screen if I want to talk to people, huh, Kim McAllister? Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I told you I was a little slow today. Thanks for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. It is Friday. I have a bit of a cold. I woke up this morning and I COVID tested myself, and it is really negative. Like, there wasn't even thank goodness, but I have a stupid cough. I'm loaded up on cough syrup, so I'm a little loopy, I feel like. I just feel a little out of it. So,
well, this could be fun. Excellent.
It's not as fun as wine at 9, but it just might be. Speaking of drinking, did anybody drink last night watching that debate? We have John Rothmann waiting.
What a
join us in a few minutes.
disappointment.
Did you watch it?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I was so disappointed. I really expected more from this. I wanted it to be this, exchange of ideas. I wanted it to be this back and forth and
substance. A little more substance.
And all it was this yelling match. And,
yeah.
And you know what I thought when each question was asked with a presentation of a Fox-produced bar graph,
a stat that was
some
just
type of percentages, like such and such percent of Californians suck at doing this,
and Florida's great at this. Like,
it's all of this. The way they twisted the numbers and the way they and first of all, Fox doesn't have a really good track record at getting any of the facts right.
Right.
So Newsom then had to operate when you're thrown a question like that. You have to operate on the premise that whatever the facts are correct, unless you know that. And sometimes he did.
He'd say it,
and he'd look and say that's not right, and then Hannity would say, "Well, that's based on numbers from the CDC." No, it isn't, because we know that it's not true. We know that California did a great job at COVID. Now, yes, maybe we overreacted, but at the time we didn't know. We thought it was going to kill everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid debate to have, like, were we locked down too long? Was school closed for so long because of what we know? I think especially after the vaccine was released, and we can have that debate if it was a genuine debate. Now, we're going to, again, talk to John Rothmann about this, but you know what I noticed? Hannity seemed nervous. Didn't he seem nervous to you?
Yeah,
that was the one thing. Like, if I'm just going to be superficial, Hannity seemed nervous. Remember, I think it was the first commercial break. Newsom actually went to the break. He's like, more coming up. And I was like, Newsom, what the hell are you doing?
I know, it's not your show, dude. What are you doing?
But, he totally takes over. And then, Hannity just seemed really nervous. And the cameraman couldn't keep the camera straight on Newsom. His was like going back and forth. It was like we were in some sort of, live action
like they wanted to make him shifty on purpose.
Yeah. And DeSantis's was straight.
Yeah.
Did DeSantis... Obviously, it was favoring him. He's on a channel in which it's being moderated by someone that admitted he's conservative, and that stuck out to me too. How often do you hear somebody who's like, "I'm unapologetically conservative"? I'm conservative. So again, people, they get their news, and I put this big in quotes, big quotes, news from Sean Hannity. He's already told you. Flat out, I am a conservative. I skew conservative. I'm going to try to be a equal moderator. And if I wasn't drinking, you'd be proud of me. I did not drink. I keep up my not drinking during the week. If I drank every time Sean Hannity said, "Let's let this breathe," like it's a bottle of freaking wine, I would have been drunk off my butt.
I don't want to be a hall monitor.
Yeah, I don't make me a
somebody
hall
needs
monitor.
to be,
yes,
because no one can hear anything because everyone's trying to shout over each other. What a miserable failure that was.
Exactly. So we'll talk about that with John. Also, the passing of Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman Supreme Court justice, 93 years old. She died from complications of, I guess, dementia, and she had a respiratory illness as well. So we'll get that. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff with John coming up. And then in the second part of this hour, after John, we'll do some headlines with Kim. And then I'll show you it is Friday. I did my Friday food. I have a plate of it in the fridge. So during Kim's news, I'll go and get it. I made so many of these yesterday, Kim. I told you I was going to I made them. I stuffed a bunch of them in my mouth, and then I have so many left over. And it was funny because I put it on my social media feed, totally blew up again. And my mom's texting me. She's like, so now again, how do I do it? I'm like, watch the video. It is very simple. It's less than 60 seconds, woman.
This is why I posted a how-to.
It is so good, though. I am telling you, it is so good. So we'll do that. And then, of course, in the second part of the show, in the second hour, Tim Sika will join us to talk about all things movies and streaming. And before we get to that, I'm finally going to get to the conversation about the best and the worst movie remakes. Because I mentioned earlier this week, somebody had mentioned remaking Elf. No, don't even touch it. They're just movies. And I'm going to put Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in that, even though they keep redoing it, and now Timothée Chalamet is going to be in it.
They keep trying, and it ends up being this weird, dark zoo. Yeah.
It's the only one I felt like we needed. I'm not knocking Johnny Depp, but I don't think it was needed. So we'll have that debate coming up as well. Plus,
guess who's out of a job?
Who?
George Santos.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that with. And did you hear that there was another bombshell dropped right before the expulsion vote? Apparently, some other lawmakers said that George Santos was stealing money from him and his mother for campaign funds, and also, so Santos is out. All of that. There's so much political news. So I'm happy that John Rothmann is now going to be our regular political roundup, because it seems like you can't even keep track of all of these headlines. But before we get to John, let's do some business. Click that thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. Please, please, please. YouTube loves it. Our super chat is also live. So if you want to donate a super sticker, a super thanks, a comment, we'll read it live if you donate live on the show, of course. And then the number one way to support the show is through our monthly Patreon. So just go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com. Our Patreon link is there. You could donate any amount you can afford, one time a month. And if you can, bump it up for the new year. Also, PayPal is there as well. Just go to paypal.com and put in our email address, theNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com, after you hit the send button. There's merch. There's my list of favorite things. Also, all of these links are in the show notes, so you don't have to remember them all, but we do appreciate the support. All right. No further ado, let us welcome the political expert that we know and love, the John Rothmann. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am splendid. Happy to be with you and Kim. And there's no political news, though. What are we going to talk about?
There's nothing to talk about. Okay, we have to start with the obvious. Let's start with last night's debate. I know you watched it. Let's just start off. First off, if you had to give a grade for the debate in general, it was on Fox News, moderated by Sean Hannity. What did you think?
F.
On the whole entire thing, you didn't think anything was good?
The whole entire thing was a fiasco.
I kind of agree.
It was not a debate, as you wisely pointed out in your introduction. It was a shouting match. I thought that Hannity is hardly a neutral observer, and his prejudices and biases were clear. If you're going to have a Lincoln-Douglas-style debate, then do it. But this was not. It was just a shouting match. I think it hurt DeSantis, and I think it hurt Newsom. So I had no pluses to it at all. But may I tell you, as a veteran debater, and I was a debater all through high school and college, if you're going to do it right. And boy, did they screw it up.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know how you can frame a debate like this, especially with two very big personalities. But I just wish there was an opportunity for them to ask each other questions without interrupting. Like when they were talking about banning books, right? And Ron DeSantis is holding up, and they love to hold up these really shocking and graphic things from that book, Gender Queer, and it was blocking out things. The whole idea of parental rights, John, I wish that Newsom would have been like, use the words against DeSantis. I believe in parental rights. I believe if a parent does not want a child to read something or learn something, they can opt out. But I want to give all parents their right to make that decision. I don't believe the government needs to make a blanket law about it. I felt like it was such a missed opportunity.
Nikki, you're being rational. You're being rational in the face of a debate, which was completely irrational. It was not a debate. It was a shouting match. If you want to have a debate, you have a subject. I told the story this morning on my podcast, Around the Political World with John Rothmann. That's the commercial. It was very clear. I talked to Barry Goldwater about it. Goldwater and John F. Kennedy had planned to debate every issue. They were going to travel on the same plane. They were going to go from city to city, and they were going to talk about civil rights, Medicare, Social Security, foreign policy, the whole 9 yards. That's what you call a debate. What you heard last night was the furthest thing from a debate, and frankly, it was shameful. But I expect that from Fox, to be very honest with you. You know, to talk about Fox and news is an oxymoron. And so that's my judgment on the debate. And it did nobody any good. I expect
that's what I was going to ask. Do you think it hurt or helped either person? I mean, no. DeSantis has more to lose. Governor Newsom's not running for president. And it surprises me that DeSantis would even put himself in a position where he could lose face.
Well, the whole point is he's trying not to lose face. He's trying to be able to say, I'm qualified to be president. We will see in the Iowa caucuses, then followed by the New Hampshire primary, and then South Carolina. Yeah. That essentially DeSantis, who's raised a massive amount of money, is out of it. And I think that will be the result. As for Gavin Newsom, this did him no good. But as you point out, rightly, he is not running for president. Exactly. And so, look, all I can tell you is if you're going to have a debate, have a debate. Do it according to the rules of the National Forensics League. Make sure it's a real Lincoln Douglas style debate. And then you've got something. But this kind of shouting match. And by the way, I feel the same way about the Republican so-called debates. They are not debates. They're a disgrace. The last time, by the way, just for historians out there, that we had a real presidential debate was on May 17th, 1948, when Harold Stassen and Thomas E. Dewey debated, resolve the Communist Party should be abolished in the United States. You can hear it. You can go on YouTube and they'll pick it right up for you, and you'll hear what a classic debate is like. This was not a debate.
Yeah, I'd like to see a real debate. Now, of course, speaking of debates, former President Trump has said he's not going to attend the next debate. I don't think he's going to do any of the debates, honestly. And yet still, he is the front runner. Apparently, according to the Trump spokesperson, John, Trump said DeSantis is so desperate for attention, he's debating grade A loser Gavin Newsom. And then Liz Cheney's come out. She's on her book tour saying, we're basically sleepwalking into a dictatorship, that the Republican Party's been co-opted. I mean, is it? And then we heard Gavin Newsom saying, both of us are not going to be the nominee for president in 2024. Does this solidify to you the fact that Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republican Party?
Well, the odds are he will be. But Liz Cheney, and I've not read the book, I've only read the excerpts, is 100% correct. And that is that Donald Trump is totally unsuited to be president. This morning was a major court decision. I haven't read it yet because I was getting ready for your program. And evidently he can now be sued. And that's the greatest
civilly for January 6th. He could be sued civilly for January 6th.
Exactly.
The cops, the Capitol Police. Yeah.
And that's, to me, is great news. Somebody asked me this morning in a phone call, how does that affect the presidency? It means that a president is not above the law. And that is very important. So Donald Trump, in the way things look now, will be the Republican nominee for president. That's a shame for the Republican Party. And all I can say is I was fascinated to see there was a story today about what happens if Donald Trump is nominated and then has to leave the ticket because of XYZ reason. That means the Republican National Committee will be front and center. The last time something like that happened was when Tom Eagleton resigned as the Democratic candidate for vice president in 1972. The National Committee chose a new candidate. It was Sargent Shriver. And I would suggest to you that the Republican National Committee may have to play a critical role. But what a shame. What a shame that the Republican Party, a great national party, the party of Lincoln, is in a situation where they have this. And by the way, this morning, you saw it again in the case of George Santos. You found the Republican leadership, so-called, wanting to keep in Congress George Santos. Thank heaven the Congress expelled him. The sixth member to be expelled. And all I can tell you is he deserved to be expelled. And thank God there were enough Republicans who went along with it. But listen carefully, Nikki. The Republican leadership voted to keep him in power.
They were scared of the president. What do you think about that whole idea of, he hasn't been convicted. He's only been accused. Although I would say he admitted the things he's accused of. So it's not as if we're just pulling stuff out of the air, similar to other cases that we could think of. I mean, they did say, unless you're convicted, why should he be expelled,
Well, obviously, the committee report was bipartisan. It's very clear, as you point out rightly, that he has admitted that he made these kinds of errors. But the point is, he has no business in Congress.
Yeah.
And so he's out. And now there will be a contest in his district. And the expectation is that the Democrats will win this election, which will narrow the majority. But may I tell you, we'll talk more about Speaker Johnson, I'm sure, but his wacko theories and conspiracy theories and his introduction to this book, which I ordered this morning, which is filled with conspiracy theories, including Pizzagate, that discredited theory from so many years ago, dealing with Hillary Clinton and a pizza parlor in Washington,
child sex
D.C.
trafficking. And it's
the fact that he would endorse such a concept, he has no business being Speaker of the House of Representatives. But you know what? It means the Democrats will have a stronger case. And I think that's going to be very important.
I hope so. I hope that it brings out all those voters. And we also have to remember, John, the number of young voters that have turned 18 years old since Trump was last president, and I'm kind of hoping against hope that the younger generation sees through his BS.
Well, clearly younger women are, and the death of Sandra Day O'Connor, very important to point out, the first woman on the Supreme Court, nominated and confirmed by the Senate during the Reagan administration. She was a conservative, but a responsible conservative. She favored a woman's right to choose. She defended Roe v. Wade.
Exactly.
And although I had real disagreements with her on a number of issues, when it came to civil liberties, she was right there. When it came to the question of a woman's right to choose, she was spot on. And if only the conservatives on the court would follow the tradition of a Sandra Day O'Connor, we would be in much, much better shape.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, it seems to hearken to a time that we just don't live in anymore, John. It seems like having rational debate, understanding that we can disagree, but we shouldn't take fundamental rights away from people. We should not make blanket laws. We shouldn't strip people of fundamental rights that other people get to have simply because of their gender or their sexual identity or whatever. I don't know if we can get back there, but I do fear that if we do have another 4 years of Trump, like Liz Cheney has been alluding to, she says that's the end of our republic. Are you that afraid if Trump does actually win the next presidential election?
The minute Donald Trump talked about rounding people up, putting them in camps, the minute he talked about the question of using the Justice Department to pursue his enemies, the minute he used that concept of enemies lists, all I can tell you is, in my mind, he is disqualified as someone who anybody should vote for. And I would appeal to those listening to this program who are Republicans to make clear your point of view. Now, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, that I like Nikki Haley. I know I don't. And I certainly don't like Ron DeSantis. But the Republican Party will have to reclaim itself, refine its roots. And may I say, although I would never vote for Liz Cheney because we disagree on so many issues, her personal integrity is remarkable. Exactly. And that goes with Adam Kinzinger as well. So the trick for the Republicans is to find responsible Republicans and really to repudiate the Donald Trump wing of the party. Now, why won't they? They won't because they can't win without Donald Trump's base, which is why Donald Trump continues to be a force in the Republican Party. The chair of the Republican National Committee, Ronna Romney McDaniel, is shameful. If her grandfather, who I knew well, George Romney, were alive, he'd be rolling over in his grave at the thought of what she is saying and defending. So the Republican Party has real challenges, and maybe, just maybe, they'll recover some sense of balance. But Liz Cheney's book, I'm anxious to read. I've only read the excerpts, but it seems to me she's spot on. So that is an important point that you have made, and I agree with.
All right, before I let you go, John, I have to, of course, get your reaction to the passing of Henry Kissinger. I know that you are our expert in Nixon, so I am sure you have. I mean, it's. I will say this: it's before my time, although not before my time to learn in history. Thoughts about the mixed reaction? I'm going to say it as politely as possible. The mixed reaction to his passing.
Henry Kissinger is a monumental figure. And I want you to understand, Nixon and Kissinger were a team. Kissinger was allowed to do what he did because of Richard Nixon. Nixon put his dear friend, Bill Rogers, the former Attorney General under Eisenhower, into the State Department. But Nixon intended to run foreign policy out of the White House. And to that end, he found Henry Kissinger, who, by the way, was no friend of Richard Nixon. He was actually a friend of Nelson Rockefeller's. And Rockefeller and Nixon were bitter political enemies. But Nixon and Kissinger formed a partnership. And let me just give you some highlights. First, the trip to China. That was envisioned by Richard Nixon in his article, Asia After Vietnam, published in the fall of 1967 in Foreign Affairs Quarterly. Kissinger's conception or his involvement was based on Richard Nixon's view of what should happen. And so Nixon really was responsible for the initiative. When it came to the Middle East, it was Nixon and Kissinger who developed the concept of shuttle diplomacy, something we are seeing now, even as the war emerges again. Kissinger's role was absolutely critical. He is the one who gave Golda Meir the nickname, the Lioness, and he had a very significant role in that. We know that when it came to Vietnam, it was Henry Kissinger who implemented the Nixon policy. It's true. He received the Nobel Prize for Peace with Le Duc Tho in 1973, but did he really deserve it? Well, the Nobel Prize is not necessarily given on who deserves it, as we know from its history. Yeah. But Henry Kissinger was an architect of that policy. Very negative was his involvement in Chile with the overthrow of Allende, who, of course, was assassinated. And it was Nixon and Kissinger's policy that did it. And you can talk about many other aspects of Nixon and Kissinger as a team. One is fixed in memory. The image in Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein's book, The Final Days, of this Jew. Henry Kissinger was a Jew. He had been a refugee from Nazi Germany, never lost his German accent, getting on his knees with Richard Nixon, a Quaker from Whittier. And these two men in prayer at one of the most profoundly important moments in the history of the American Republic. Henry Kissinger, by the way, was not a particularly modest man. He wrote memoirs, but let me assure you, not just one volume, not just 2 volumes, but 3.
Wow.
3 volumes of memoirs.
It's like you guys want to know everything about me. There you go.
But I can tell you that his impact on American foreign policy was critical. And frankly, he spoke very recently at the Nixon Library down in Yorba Linda. And those of us who were able to watch it, I watched on YouTube. I did not go down in person. He was completely competent, cogent, aware, and spoke rather brilliantly. But Henry Kissinger will be one of the figures in history about whom we will debate for years. Yeah. And his death will simply provoke an even greater discussion. I had the privilege of meeting him on a number of occasions. A brilliant man and a man who made history.
If you want to hear more about this, John definitely covered that in his podcast, Around the Political World with John Rothmann. And John joins us every day on the Nikki Medoro Show at 9 o'clock on Fridays. John, I always appreciate you coming on. I doubt that the politics will calm down at all, so I look forward to our next discussion. Thank you, my friend.
Nikki, I look forward to it with anticipation. And now I better go to your website and check out that recipe.
There you go. Oh, yes. And you could just continue to watch because it is a delicious, very easy. That's my thing, John. I make easy recipes because I'm too lazy to make complicated ones. So
I don't quite believe that. And tell your mother I send my warmest good wishes for a happy holiday season. And she should enjoy her marvelous daughter.
Oh, you too. And tell your wife we all say hello. Have a good one, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That, of course, is John Rothmann, Around the Political World with John Rothmann. And go check it out. Make sure you subscribe. And he's a wealth of knowledge that I always love and miss. And, you know, I miss having it on KGO. Okay, so we're going to do some headlines with Kim McAllister, and then I'm going to run and go get my delicious appetizer that I made. It is a puff pastry appetizer. It is a 1-bite appetizer. Kim McAllister,
yes.
Are you ready to go with headlines? Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to run and get it. So you're going to see an empty seat here for a second. And now I don't know. Okay, I'm going to warm up.
It's going to be warm? Yeah.
See, this is what I was going to say. So it has cream cheese. This was my debate yesterday. So it's a puff pastry with cream cheese. And I was like, well, I can't leave it out on the counter. It has cream cheese on it, right? So I threw it in the fridge and I was like, oh, maybe I'll like nuke it for a little bit. You're not supposed to do that, but I don't have time to warm up my oven. So I'm just going to say if you make this and you put it in the fridge and you want to warm it up, I would say like do it in your oven, like on low or whatever. But I gave one to my husband last night after it had been sitting in the fridge and he loved it. So it's good hot or cold. So is that even better? I am a giver here, people. I am a giver.
I like him. You know, he's very flexible and versatile, that
Yeah,
fellow.
my husband, he's not much of a complainer when it comes to food. So big thank you to Harry. Happy Friday. Yes, John, great news. No Santos Claus for Christmas. Thank you, Harry, for the $5 donation.
That was a good one, Harry.
If you want to be like Harry, just click the $ in the live chat button, and you could throw us a super comment or a super thanks or a super sticker. And we always appreciate each and every dollar that we get. All right, we'll do some Friday food and some food stories. Is the sound of people eating bothersome to you? Is that one of those things that you
100%.
absolutely hate? You could also think of other things that you hate people do when they're
chewing
eating
with their mouth open
yeah.
and slurping. And,
although depending on the culture, that matters. So we'll debate all of that coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And hello to you. Here it is. The retired United States Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor has died at the age of 93, as Nikki mentioned. The Supreme Court said O'Connor's cause of death was related to complications from advanced dementia and respiratory illness. O'Connor was the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court. She was appointed by Ronald Reagan in 1981. New York Republican George Santos, no longer a member of Congress. Wrap it up, throw it away. The House voted to expel Santos this morning in an historic 311 to 114 vote, ending his chaotic tenure in Congress. More than 100 Republicans voted in favor of removing Santos, who is now the 6th lawmaker to ever be pulled out of that chamber. I'm telling you, that's embarrassing. California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom and Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis debated, loosely that term, last night in Georgia in this televised Fox News special moderated by Sean Hannity titled Great Red versus Blue State Debate. I mean, that should have told you right there, right? The duo clashed on every single issue, ranging from immigration to abortion to COVID and LGBTQ rights. DeSantis said people are leaving California because they don't feel safe in the state anymore, to which Newsom replied, he doesn't think it's wise for a man that's running for president to talk down about a great American city like Los Angeles. Well, all right then.
That was, here, and I've seen it in the comments a few times, and I will say this. It is valid to say that California has issues. Okay. I do think that Newsom was making an excellent point when he was saying, we have no peers, right? Like there is no place like California. I would even argue that not even Florida or Texas can compare, maybe population wise, but the things that are developed, the desire to live here. And I will say the slow response to issues such as housing and things like that have exacerbated the problems in California. I think it would be disingenuous for Governor Newsom to say California has no problems. But at the same time, I think it's also fair to say we are trying to work on them, while at the same time, all these things happening at the same time, we have values. When DeSantis kept bringing up the gas prices, for instance, I would have brought up climate change. I would have said, COP's going on right now, right? The climate change summit. It is a crisis of our generations, our children. People always talk, oh my God, the debt's going to settle. It's going to be our grandkids are going to be dealing with it. If there's a friggin' planet for them to live on, right? Like, let's not act like we give a crap about future generations if we don't give a crap about our climate and being able to live on this planet. So I would say, yes, California leads the way when it comes to clean energy. We pay more in taxes because we drive with cleaner gasoline. Do we like it? No. Is there price gouging that I want to get under control? Yes. But don't come at me. I'm speaking as Newsom now. Don't come at me and say that you guys are doing anything about it. Your response to climate change is just a cleanup after every ever growing stronger hurricane. So yeah, DeSantis ain't doing crap about climate change.
No. That whole thing was just a total disaster.
Exactly.
I'm telling you. Nearly half of U.S. companies intend to eliminate bachelor's degrees from requirements for some job positions next year. According to this new survey by intelligence.com, Of 800 U.S. employers, 55% said they had already eliminated degree requirements this year. This coming after Walmart, IBM, Accenture, Bank of America, and Google announced similar plans.
How do you feel about that? I mean, okay, here's my thing. Okay, my first instance when you read that headline is they're going to stop requiring the bachelor's degree because they don't want to pay people more, right? Like, it's really laughable that you're like, I need a bachelor's, a master's is more desirable, and then I'm going to pay you $20 an hour. It's like, screw you. Like, why am I doing all of this stuff if you're not going to pay me enough? On the other hand, I also think that maybe they need people now. And so, right?
Well, I mean, in certain jobs, say you have a software developing position, right? And there's a kid who's been tampering with computers his whole or her whole life, and is more than qualified to do software developing and really doesn't need a computer science degree.
Right, exactly.
Right? That, like we saw at Google, where they offered that kid a job right out of high school, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have a bachelor's. He just proved that he knew it. I will say, even though I definitely think you need a journalism degree, talking on the radio, you have to do it, right? Like, you have to. We were talking before the show, Julia, Kim's daughter, does this broadcast class in her high school, which is fabulous.
It's really cool.
Really good. She does a very good job. This is a type of job you have to do it to get better at it. You can't just go in the classroom and take notes and think that you're going to be a great broadcaster. You have to actually learn to do it.
Right.
I so many people, whenever I tell them I'm in radio, they're like, "Oh, how did you get into that?" I'm like, "I got my broadcast journalism degree."
Yeah.
I didn't think that necessarily certain things require that, but you learn lessons, you learn all sorts of things when you go through the bachelor aspect of it, the college education aspect of it.
Sure. Although, like you were saying, experience counts for a lot.
It's both, yeah.
So, I mean, just the way it goes. But it's interesting, though, that plans are changing as far as what the requirements are for jobs in America. Hundreds of tuba players will perform tomorrow afternoon for the annual Tuba Christmas concert. It happens in Ames, Iowa.
Okay.
Yes.
Tuba.
240 musicians last year, all playing the tuba, euphonium, baritone tuba, and the sousaphone, met last year at the Stevens Auditorium. The concert is free, and it starts today at 3 local time if you happen to be in Iowa.
Okay. I play the tuba. I
got one behind me over here. Yeah.
Who plays the tuba in your house?
That's the husband, David.
That's the husband.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Look at that. Okay. Nice.
They all play some instrument, though.
I love
in many
your
cases,
household.
more than one. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's noisy. It's a noisy place over here. I'll just tell you.
Our house is just noisy because we're loud people. That's about it. So I take music.
I have my my foam earplugs in often. Let's just say that.
Really? Oh, that's so funny.
It's just too much. It would be one thing if it was one horn, but when it's different, like 3 different horns playing 3 different things in 3 different parts of the house, it's headache inducing.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mean to complain.
I would probably be like, can we all just be in the same key, please? Let's do that.
Exactly. There are some days I tell myself, there's some day I'm going to miss this.
Oh,
There's
yes.
some day my house will be quiet. The kids will be gone. College or off living their lives.
Yeah.
And it'll be quiet and I'll miss the days of all the noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put the earphones in and I'll stop complaining.
But it's not while you're going through it. That's why I used to listen to this podcast and it was called The Longest, Shortest Time. And it's like when you're in the middle of it, it seems so long and like, oh my God. But when you look back, it went like that.
Completely.
So,
yeah. Lawmakers are pushing for an official federal holiday honoring Rosa Parks on December 1st. The anniversary of her arrest. And today is December 1st. Rosa Parks famously refused to move to the back section of a bus for a white man in 1995. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus are marking the 68th anniversary of that day. Alabama Democrat Terry Sewell says in a news conference this week that the issue is about American history as a whole, not just Black history. Remembering this
Black
day.
history is American history. Come on, people. That's it.
One of New Jersey's very own has won the heart of the Golden Bachelor.
Oh, I watched this last night.
If I do the story, is it a spoiler?
We live in 2023. You know who won the Golden one. Okay. before you announce it. I suck at this show. Every single time I'm like, that person's going to win. They don't. So I should always say it's going to be the opposite person. And I tried to tell myself that this time. I was like, it's not going to be that person because you always choose the wrong person. I didn't see it. And again, full disclosure, I didn't watch the whole thing. So, because I just found it to be kind of boring.
Yeah.
But go ahead, announce it.
Spoiler alert.
Let me find a picture of her. Do you have a picture of her?
No.
Okay,
Take a moment if you need to mute me for a moment if you haven't watched it yet and you want to.
Right.
I'll count to 3 and then I'm going for it.
And you go for it. Okay.
1,000, 2
of those.
Mississippi,
Oh, exactly.
3 Mississippi. Jerry Turner, a 72-year-old from Indiana, was the leading man on the ABC debut dating show that features contestants 60 years and older. Out of 22 women vying for Turner's heart, one with a last name of Shrewsbury resident Teresa Nist won
There they
it.
are.
There's Teresa Nist.
It's a really cute picture of them. Now, should I be snarky and like the Bachelor like Nation side of me? Like,
Oh, please.
I hate being like this, but this is just how you. I just thought the other. Okay, I'm totally biased. The other woman was in radio. Like I was from the beginning. I was. Oh, she should win, and they had.
So
such
she
a
had
great
personality
connection.
plus then.
She was excellent, and like.
Okay.
And then there's this whole debate. And again, here's the couple. Somebody, was it in the Washington Post? There was an op-ed about the Golden Bachelor, and they were vilifying it because they're saying what you've done is you've taken a bunch of women who have over the years steeled themselves because they're older. They're 60 and up, 60 and up, to being alone and being fine with it, right? Like either they've been divorced or they're widowed or they're just single. And they're fine with it and they're living their lives and they're finding purpose in other ways. And now you're telling them to break down their walls, open up their heart to this guy. They do. And then it is crushed. And I kind of felt that.
It's The Bachelor. You know, that
You
only
know
going
when
to
you
pick
go in,
one
yeah.
person, if any.
I know.
And so you have to realize that your chances are of, not walking away with the dude if that's considered the prize.
I don't know. And then the other snarky part of me was like the other chick was hotter, in my opinion. It's mean to say. I just thought that the other woman was a little more attractive. Not that Teresa's not attractive. I also thought that the other woman was kind of cooler. And I think I'm biased because she's in radio. Because like she's way cooler. Like, how did you not choose the radio chick? But that's just me and my bias. But
Teresa and Jerry did get engaged on the season finale. They plan to get married January 4th. During a televised ceremony with the thought that they don't have time to waste at their age.
No,
so they're going to just jump right in.
Go.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't at that age, right? And I will also say this, Teresa, and I'm blanking on the other woman's name that I wanted, and I don't know why I'm blanking on it. Leslie? No, I don't know. But anyways, she asked more like substance questions about the relationships outside the show, and I think that got to Jerry a little bit. Or Gary. It's not Jerry. It looks like Jerry. It's Gary.
Gary. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Gary.
So I don't watch that show.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
I just have a fundamental problem with women throwing themselves at men.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me there's going to be 22 people and he's going to get his pick of the litter. I don't like
that. But he also like Gary, and it was Leslie. Thank you, Kim. Gary. He was very emotional and very honest. Like they did not do the whole both women come down. So if you don't watch the show, the finale is always whether it's the man or the woman comes down, and that's when they find out whether or not they're going to get proposed to. So one of them is going to be like, "I love you, I love you, I love you," and then they're going to be like, "I really loved you, but I love the other person more." That's how the conversation goes. Gary didn't do that. He did that. He talked to Leslie the night before, but she said she bought a $60,000 dress. And I'm like, what? Was it made out of diamonds? Like, what did you buy?
Did the show buy that or did she buy that?
I'm sure she can return it. I don't know. But like,
I don't think you can return a $60,000. I think when you buy a $60,000 dress, it's your dress.
Yeah. She had her vows written. She was 110% positive that after their fantasy suite date, that she was the one, because he told her that. And then he has this date with Teresa, and then that's how it goes. And all of a sudden, the show is heartbreaking from beginning to end. But the fact that they're older just made it a little bit more. And Gary's a crier, and I have no problem with guys crying. But at the finale, I was like, suck it up, Buttercup, because like you're breaking this woman's heart. I am not sad for you. So Yeah, it was ridiculous, but that's over. I wonder if they're gonna do. I don't think that they announced. I thought they were gonna make Leslie the Golden Bachelorette.
Yeah.
I don't think they announced anything like that, but I was kind of done, and so maybe they did. I didn't.
Well, maybe they have to kind of assess and see how the Golden Bachelor actually did.
I don't think it did. I don't know. I don't know if necessarily. I don't know. The Golden Wedding's on January 4th. If you give a crap. But yeah, I don't see in this article. Usually they'll announce something really big like that, and I don't see it. But we'll see. We'll see.
Congratulations, Gary and Teresa.
Yeah, whatever. It wasn't my choice.
Lastly, Beyonce is aiming to be queen of the box office this weekend. Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, earned $5.1 million from preview showings Thursday night. The concert film is on track to earn somewhere between $17 and $20 million during its debut weekend. So the concert movie is the big thing this year, I guess, right?
Yes, I guess. I'm sorry. I have to correct myself. Was Faith in radio, not Leslie? I thought Leslie was in radio. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. I apologize if I'm wrong. Sorry. But yes, I don't think I'm going to watch the Beyonce movie. Tim Sika is not reviewing the Beyonce movie. He's coming up in the second part of the show. It's because I went to the concert, and so when it streams, I'll probably turn it on when I'm cleaning the house or whatever. But no, I'm not going to go into the theater and watch it. Anybody in the comments, let me know if you're going to go see it.
Nope. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
This report is crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you for support.
We do.
Please find us at the NikkiMedoroShow.com. All the stuff is there. You've got the Patreon, the PayPal, the link to Nikki's favorite things, the link to the merchandise shop, the podcast link. It's like it's a plethora of linkage. Please find us again at the NikkiMedoroShow.com, and we thank you for
plethora of linkage.
That's right.
I love that.
All the ways you support the show, we're very grateful. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, this thing is like smelling delicious next to me, so I'm like watering.
There.
All right, you
little pillow puffs of goodness.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you my. I'm going to show you my video that I made, and we can't talk over it because it's a video. Okay, but I talk on the video, so you don't need to worry about that. So I made this. So when I made my candy cane cream cheese or cheesecake jelly thing, right? So many people were like, ugh, don't use crescent rolls. They're filled with chemicals. Wah, wah, wah. Crescent rolls are delicious. Really? I don't know. People complain about everything. I like crescent rolls. If they're filled with chemicals, I'm filled with chemicals. We've talked about this. Like there's only a level of caring that I have. And yeah, but everyone's like, it'd be better with puff pastry. Puff pastry is not the easiest thing to work with. Phyllo dough is the worst. But puff pastry, like you have to defrost it, but not defrost it too much because then it becomes too soft and then blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so this one is my puff pastry recipe. And here is how. Hold on, let me get rid of the background. There we go. And this is how you make it. Another TikTok made me try it. This time, yes, with puff pastry. So you roll it out. I use a jigger with a big circle and a small circle, and you'll see why. You make a big circle, cut it out, and then slightly press in a small circle so it looks like that. Once you get all of them done, you need to make an egg wash. Just roll the edge in the egg wash, and then get a plate with everything but the bagel seasoning and roll it into that. It doesn't need to be perfect. Put it in the oven for 15 minutes at 400 until it puffs up. Press the center in, and then it'll look like that. Get Philadelphia cream cheese, chive cream cheese. Put it in this makeshift piping bag. Pipe it in the center. Now, I have homemade hot pepper jelly. You could use the red pepper jelly at the grocery store. Just drizzle it right on top. Ooh, there you go, right on top, and it'll look like that. We'll do a taste test during the show tomorrow, so make sure you follow for more recipes. All right, so there it is. And this is the one that I have left. It's just like crumbling all over the place. It is so freaking good. Now, I'm not going to put the whole thing in my mouth because I won't be able to talk for like
put it all seconds. In. I'll talk for a minute. You eat that.
The hot pepper jelly is key. Like I'm just saying, you need a hot pepper jelly. It makes it so good. So
I just want to say that it's funny that you used a jigger because I don't even have one of those. I don't have that tool in my house. So I love that
you notice how I enunciated jigger?
Joe, you must.
Because yes. And somebody when I posted on social media, they're like, I love the over enunciation of jigger because every time I go to like James if I'm like making. So I use my jigger when I make my cocktail. So one is a 1 ounce and the other side is like 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
I use the 1.5 ounce. But it's always like in the dishwasher or something. I go, where's my jigger? Where's my jigger? And the kids are always like, what are you saying? And I go, shut up. I'm saying jigger. And so I over enunciate it when I say it. Just to be careful. Come on.
I just think it's funny that's a normal thing in your house that's well used, right?
I measure my booze. I've told you guys this before, and you can't. The only way you can measure your booze is if you have a jigger. So this is it. This is what it looks like after I took a bite of it. See, it's filled with cream cheese. The everything but the bagel seasoning is bomb. And it's so easy to make. I mean, I make these in 10 seconds. It's really not. The longest part of the whole thing is defrosting your puff pastry just enough, which is about 30 minutes. So you just lay it out on your counter for 30 minutes and then it's done. It's so done. I also whipped the cream cheese before I put it in the bag to make it a little bit softer. Because then if it's too cold, it's going to be hard coming out of the bag. Right. But other than that, it was really, really, really good. So, yeah, you can do it in one bite, Ricky. Like you can shove the whole thing in your mouth. That's what I was doing during Thanksgiving when I made it. I was just popping them in my mouth. It was so, so good. Yeah, Lori, jalapeno jelly and cream cheese on a bagel is delicious. Sometimes you can get jalapeno bagels too. Always get jalapeno bagels. I mean, I like everything bagels, but thank God you guys are far away. Those seeds, they get in your teeth, dude. They don't want to come out. But yeah, so that's my recipe, my Friday food of the day. If you make it, let me know. Just email me a picture of it, the Nikki Medoro Show @gmail.com, because I love when you guys make them, make the recipes. It's so funny. And how much you love it. Love, 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 love it. I know. I wish I could. I wish this was like smell-o-vision, right? Or like I could pass food through you. They never come up with those technologies. They're not focusing on that.
Oh, Janet, looks so good. I'm going to make these for our potluck on the 15th.
Oh, look, okay, so I probably ate 5 of them yesterday after I made them. And then I gave James one, and I wanted to show you how many more I had left. So, see, I have so many left. So I have like, 3, 6, 7, I have 8 left. 8. So, yeah, you can make more than a dozen, right? And they're really, really yummy. And again, they're fine cold. I would just, maybe make them right before you leave. It doesn't take that long. I think they're much better hot. And another trick, besides letting your cream cheese kind of warm up slightly and whip it so it's easy, warm up the hot pepper jelly like for 15 seconds in the microwave so you can actually drizzle it on. Perfect. It is absolutely perfect. It is so, so yummy. So yeah, I love it. Try it. Let me know. Hot pepper jelly is super easy to make, Blue Spark says. I leave out the bell pepper and use something hotter than jalapenos. Oh. It doesn't come out as hot as you would think. Take it to a party and they eat the plate. Yeah. The hot pepper jelly, shout out to my friend Katie. She cans and she does all these. And it was funny. I could not find over Thanksgiving. I didn't go to Trader Joe's. I should have, but I ran out of time and I totally forgot. On Thanksgiving morning, I'm like, shoot, I forgot the hot pepper jelly. And James was like, oh, no, Katie made some. And we had it in our cabinet for like a year, but it was canned and it hadn't been opened. So it was fine. And I opened it up. Bomb. So freaking good. It was so, so yummy. So shout out to Katie, who always makes delicious. She makes she made some sort of like pumpkin jelly. It's so yummy. She makes such good things. So I'm not making any of that. But when I say I have homemade hot pepper jelly, it wasn't in this home. It was in somebody else's home, but they gave it to me. But the red pepper jelly will work great. And if you have a recipe to make hot pepper jelly, send it to me. I'll give it a shot. Let's continue to talk about food, though, on this Friday food day. So the noise of someone chomping on chips has become quite a problem for gamers. So much so that Doritos is answering the call for a solution. Doritos has created Doritos Silent. Okay. This is a crunch cancellation software that removes the sound of chewing from voice chats. Is the sound of chewing the most annoying thing ever? So this is a size the kind of picture they put up. Chewing, crunching, that's your favorite? I don't like slurping. Slurping bothers me more than crunching, I think.
If I'm on the phone with someone and they pop something in their mouth, immediately I have to go. I can't handle that in my ear like that.
Well, yeah, that's what they're saying about the gamers is like they're gaming and they have their headphones on and then somebody's eating chips, which is most gamers snack while they're gaming. And it's just the crunching is so distracting that they try to get rid of it. Yeah.
I think because I grew up with my dad being very strict about chewing with our mouths open. He was always very like at the table, we'd get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
well, I mean, eating with
it's kind of ingrained in me.
Awful, yeah.
Yeah. So that bothers me. My poor kids, I'm like, chew with your mouth closed. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like chewing with your mouth closed is obvious. Nobody wants to see what's inside your mouth. Like, you know, little kids being like, do you like seafood? Seafood. And they open up their mouth. That's gross. Yeah. That's little kid stuff. If you're, now I know I do Friday food segments and sometimes I'm chewing and talking at the same time, which is rude. But most of the time I do not do that. Or if somebody asks me a question, like cover your mouth, right? Like I'm chewing something. Oh my God. My problem is, and the thing that my husband always teases me about, I do not wait for things to cool down before I shove them in my mouth. I am a hot. He's all here. It is. It's lava hot. So take a bite. Like he's like, and I'm like, okay. And I do it all of the time. It's not that I like it. It's just when I want to eat it, I want to eat it now, and I don't care.
Yeah, it's hard to wait.
It's hard to wait. I'm one of those people that's hard to wait. So I'm always one of those. So like then my mouth would kind of be open but I'll cover it so you don't have to see me do it. But yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah. I don't like slurping, although I know in some cultures like slurping of the soup. I think it's supposed to be like, oh, this is so delicious. So you're making the sound of it so delicious. And then of course nobody wants to see you belch or burp or whatever at the table. So that's kind of gross. Jim says hot soup is the best experience. Yes. God, I was just reading an article about hot soup. Hot pot. Have you ever had a hot pot, Kim?
No.
So if you go to like Korean barbecue places, you know, where they cook the meat, you cook the meat on the table.
Sure, yeah.
They'll also most of the time have hot pot as an option. And you can have a soup base like miso or something. And then you could put in noodles and vegetables and all sorts of things. I always want hot pot, but I like it's an added cost most of the time. And I'm like, I know I'm not going to be able to eat all this food, but hot pot is delicious.
My son just found sweet and sour soup at the local Chinese restaurant.
Hot and sour soup.
Hot and sour soup.
Yeah, I'm like sweet and sour. No, hot and sour. Yes, I love hot and sour soup.
He is in love with it. He wants it every day. So I'll say, you know, are you hungry? Did you eat lunch today? I ate lunch, but I could eat some hot and sour soup.
There you go. There's always room for soup.
But then he slurps and slurps and slurps. I guess my goal, I want to send my children out into the world with good manners, you know?
Well, I mean, I feel like with soup, sometimes it's hard to not slurp, right? Like, I mean, if you're overdoing it, but like a little, you know what I mean? Like, I guess, you know, now hot and sour soup, Kim says, is the only thing I want when I'm sick. My daughter's is miso. She loves miso soup. I remember one time my daughter and I were both sick at the same time. And my husband went to like the across the street sushi place. And he's like, my daughter and wife are sick. Can I get some bigger containers? Because normally they come in like little tiny containers on the side. They gave us like 2 big things of it. They're like, there you go. It was so awesome. So yeah, soup is the best. We had great soup on Sunday with our turkey soup. It's so yummy. But yeah, slurping. But somebody said it. Hold on. Somebody said that they didn't like, this one, Blue Spark. Eating noises drive me nuts, but I have a weird one. I can't stand whispering. I wonder if that's because of the popularity of ASMR. You know, where people talk like this and they do all this.
We're driving you crazy. We're sorry, Blue Spark. God. We love you.
Stop. Yeah. And it's really popular right now with the little TikTok videos or whatever, where all the chopping and this, you know, every single noise has to be accentuated so that you can hear it. I don't mind it, but I can see how it can really be annoying.
Is that supposed to be some type of sensory experience?
Yeah. So ASMR it's very much this where people love it. And they will do entire videos like they'll talk like this. So that you have to
Is it therapy?
I don't know if it's a therapy. I think it's just something that people like to listen to. I don't know. I just know that ASMR is a thing.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, Heather says I hate ASMR. I don't know how that's so popular. It makes my skin crawl. Eric's like, do that again and you'll have people unsubscribing. I will never do an ASMR video. I'm way too loud. Like, I am the opposite of ASMR, I think. I'm like, let's hear all of the noises, shall we? Let's talk as loud as possible, okay? But yeah, it's I'm a yeller. I'm not a whisperer. But I can
Just
understand how
not the
whispering can be
slurping
annoying.
and the chewing noises. You
Yeah.
can leave those noises out. I have loud guts.
What do you mean guts? Like your stomach, like growling?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's like you can hear things churning around in there sometimes. If I'm in a quiet room, you know, when you can hear someone's
Yeah, but
stomach
I think that
growling.
happens to everybody, right? Like if you're
I don't
hungry or you're
know.
digesting or whatever.
I just think mine's louder than normal. I'm
I think
louder
it's
than
just
the
because you're
average
in your own
bear.
body and you think it's louder than
Sometimes I'm like,
normal.
what the hell is my body doing?
Oh, and sometimes
Yeah.
we'll be doing the show, and I've mentioned it. Like I'll be hungry. Like if we do a food segment, but I have no food to eat, and we're just talking, my stomach will be like, I'm like, can you hear that, or is that just in my head? Yeah, it's yeah. I don't mind it. I don't think that that's anything that I would. I don't like it. Like if I'm at a doctor's office, or God forbid, right, having my womanly checkup. Like having my stomach gurgle, God forbid. Jeez Louise, right? Like I swear it was my
Yeah.
belly. It was my belly. It was my belly. But yeah, noises are weird. Noises are weird. I have one more food story. United is starting something, and I don't know how I feel about this. So starting, I guess this was yesterday. United will become the latest airline to offer grab and go stations for economy flyers on the plane. So it is a kiosk. Let me show you a picture of it. This is what it's going to look like. So it's a pantry where you can buy snacks, sodas on your own. It's a self-serve station. The kiosk will include a limited supply of water and snacks offered during the complimentary service with items like fruit bars, quinoa crisps, and those items will become available only after the flight attendants have made their first pass. So if you don't like what I guess the flight attendants are giving you, you can do something like this. This looks to me like another log jam of people similar to the bathroom, right? Like, why would I could only imagine how difficult it is, unless, of course, you could just go up there and grab it and not have to, like, I guess you don't have to pay for anything.
Nah, people will be standing there. They'll be making their
Yeah, like
decision.
looking
Do
at
I
it.
want this or do I want
Right.
that or do I want this? Well, the airline must think this is going to make a lot of money or they wouldn't have lost a row of seats to shove this machine in.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm assuming you have to pay for this. So, because why wouldn't you just offer all of these things from the flight attendants that's walking by during their first pass, right? So it's a self-service kiosk. And then, do you know how annoying it is when you go to the grocery store and people have to check themselves out? Can you imagine that happening on the plane? Like how long it's going to
Lord.
take?
No.
I just think that that's not a good idea. I don't think that it's free. Yeah. Ricky's like $10 peanuts. I feel like this is not needed. And it's another example of us doing something for ourselves that somebody else used to do for us. Like it was included in the price of our ticket, right? You just have to sit there. We bring you a drink. We bring you your snacks. And I know it's not hard to walk up to the pantry if you really, really want it. You can also bring your own food. You don't have to, wait for the snacks. Eric says they didn't lose a row of seats. They crammed all the other seats another 2 inches closer together. Yeah, I just bought airline tickets yesterday. I haven't flown on JetBlue in forever. And so I was like Googling best seats. And yeah, there's some seats that apparently are crappier than others. How this is great. Another opportunity for flights to be delayed due to catering not refilling the dumb machine in time. Yeah, that's also a possibility.
Can we see that picture again? Because
Yeah.
I think that Vicky's right. It looked to me like the seats right behind that thing didn't have very much leg room. Look at on the
Yeah,
right there.
on the right.
Like
And then
when
also
you stretch out your legs, do you hit the wall of that machine? I don't
right.
know.
And then also think about the seats on the left. They're right up against it. So I bet they don't recline.
That's going to be the worst place to sit.
Those will be the bad
Because
seats. Yeah.
yeah, and all the traffic in and out of your aisle, like, you won't be able to sleep because there's people constantly standing there
Yep.
talking about what they're going to order. I don't know.
Yeah. Maud says people can't not eat for an hour or two. Yeah, no. What about movies? I could eat lunch or dinner, go to the movies and still need popcorn. Even though if I was at home, there's no way I would have popcorn, right? It's as if like I need something to do
Yeah.
while I'm watching a movie, flying on an airplane. And like In no other situation would I sit there and eat an entire box of candy to my head, but it's totally okay once a movie is on. So yeah, it's
They
I don't
have
know.
those, you know how they stopped kind of serving meals, but you could order a snack box
Yes, I don't
on
like
the
that.
plane?
I don't like
I
that.
bet that's what it'll be, like snack boxes and the things
Yeah.
that they used to bring to your seat will be in there. But I think the way they could probably make that kiosk successful is to offer something that you don't get anywhere else, like some specially concocted thing, you
Right.
know, some special airplane trail mix that you can only get there. I don't know.
But again, like, is it worth it? Like for me, I would much rather bring my own food. You can't bring your own water unless you're outside. You know, you go through security first, but you can bring your own sealed food. So I
Mhm.
would just rather do that. Obviously, nothing that smells. Like, don't be bringing something stinky on the plane. But yeah, or just eat before you go. I mean, you don't really like the what was it? Maud was saying, or whoever was saying, you don't need to eat constantly on the plane. You just don't need to do that. Okay, let's do one more thing of headlines because before we get to Tim Sika, who's coming up, there's two things I want to talk about. One, I heard this morning on the news, and I was like, what? I don't know how I feel about this. So I don't know how many of you had destination weddings. Okay. So where you had family and friend fly to, you did in Hawaii. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. The people that came, they were friends and family, correct?
Uh-huh.
Did they stay after and go on vacation with you?
Not with me, but with themselves. I was on my honeymoon.
Okay, so there's a
Yeah.
thing called a buddy moon where after your wedding, you actually do travel with the people that came out. What do you
Okay.
think about that? And do you think it kind of delays the transition to husband and wife or husband and husband or wife and wife or whatever, right? Like, does that mean you're not really into being alone with your significant other right away? Or are you down for it? It's like, hell, we're all together in Europe or Hawaii or wherever. Let's all go on vacation together
You
and continue
don't
this.
often have the opportunity to go on vacation with,
A lot of friends.
yeah, and all your family and everyone you love together. So that's kind of cool, but it seems like a lot of people want to scatter and go their own way after maybe a weekend of wedding festivities,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. So how many of
Yeah.
you would want to go on your honeymoon with your friends? Let me know in the comments. Also, you guys, we're going to talk about the best and the worst movie remakes. Are there just some movies you shouldn't touch or that were touched and you're just like, why did you ever do that? Let me know in the comments. And then, of course, Tim Sika will be joining us as well to talk about all things movies and streaming. Thank you, Blue Spark, for the $10 super stick. Thank
Yay.
you, thank you, thank you.
He
And of
did
course,
that
Harry also
even
donated. Yeah,
even after you did the whispering,
I know.
Blue Spark kicked in. So you see,
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Harry as well. Thank you so much for donating. If you want to donate to our super chat, just look for the $sign. And let's take a look at some headlines. And then we'll talk about buddy moons next.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
a federal appeals court is reject Donald Trump's bid to dismiss civil lawsuits seeking to hold him accountable for the U.S. Capitol riot. The three-judge panel denied Trump's argument that he is immune to civil claims because he was the president at the time. The former president is facing lawsuits from Democratic lawmakers and U.S. Capitol police officers who say Trump is responsible for the violence by his supporters during that riot aimed at overturning the 2020 election. So now he can be sued for it civilly. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis slammed Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon during his debate last night with California Governor Gavin Newsom. During a very spirited disagreement about crime in California, DeSantis repeatedly blamed Gascon for letting people out of prison and not prosecuting criminals. He said Newsom is doing nothing to rein in Gascon, who he called Newsom's buddy. DeSantis said Newsom and Gascon are, quote, on an ideological joyride to let people out of prison. Does that even make any sense? Come on. Recent statistics noted by the Los Angeles Times indicate that crime in the county has actually dropped since Gascon took office. And then Gascon was a former police chief. That doesn't make sense to me either. New developments, though, in a high-profile murder that shook San Francisco. A trial date has now been set for the man accused of killing tech executive Bob Lee earlier this year. The suspect will go before a jury in March, but the location is unclear whether that'll happen in San Francisco. His lawyers asked for a change of venue in court yesterday. Prosecutors believe Nima Momeni stabbed Lee in an argument about his sister and whether the two had been taking drugs together.
Well, and then she just got arrested for a DUI. So, what a sad, sad story, though. I mean, of course, we don't know what the conversation was and everything like that. But I mean, it's just tragedy upon tragedy. Yeah, it's gonna be a hard one.
Everything is not fine. Nope.
No crap.
Those are the words from the mayor of Antioch as he tries to move on from the racist text messaging scandal. Lamar Thorpe spoke out for the first time last night about the officers involved, some of whom are also charged with civil rights violations. He said the city has been at the center of one of the most vile cases of corruption in the state, and he's not going to be quiet about it. His goal is to create unity, he says. He also promised police reform will continue to be a top priority in order to restore that. So we'll see how that works. More than 800 people are reporting they felt California's latest earthquake. They went on the USGS website after Imperial County was rocked just minutes before midnight. That was a 4.8. Yeah, it hit right near the Mexico border, about 7 miles from Ocotillo. A map online shows it was felt from San Diego to Glendale, with some buildings shaking. So far, no word of any damage or injuries. A 4.8 at midnight will get your attention.
Yeah. A 4.8 is, I would say that's significant. Yeah.
California is marking another milestone in its efforts to go green. There is a Northern California construction company using the first electric crane on the West Coast. It can run up to 8 hours on battery power, saving about 18,000 gallons of fuel per year. That prevents nearly 200 tons of carbon from being released into the air. The company is also working on an electric highway truck fleet to transport heavy machinery, this out of San Leandro. That's kind of cool. More illegal guns off the streets? Yes, please.
Yay.
A news task force made its first major bust, seizing 4 assault rifles and 4 handguns from a San Jose mobile home. They also found body armor, thousands of rounds of armor-piercing bullets, fentanyl, ecstasy, and cocaine. This is a place that needed to be busted.
Yeah.
The 2 suspects are now facing a range of charges. One officer says the arrest equates to 1 less shooting, 1 less homicide, 1 less robbery. There you go. Downtown San Francisco is now more vacant than ever. A record number of offices are empty at 35%. Compare that to before the pandemic, when the rate was 4%. Experts think this will get worse next year due to firms still considering and reducing space as people continue to work from home.
Yeah.
Despite several businesses closing, data shows the city is no longer losing more companies than it's gaining.
I mean,
so that's good.
Of course, everyone's like, well, then turn them into housing, but things aren't necessarily zoned for housing, and the buildings themselves need to be converted, which takes time and a lot of money. But when leases start ending, that's one of the arguments a lot of people are making on why so many companies are pushing for back to work. It's because they're paying for these freaking buildings. Like it's, they're couching it in a way in which it's like, oh, you're more productive when you're together. No, they're like, I don't want to pay for an empty ass building. I don't want to pay for office buildings that I'm not using for my employees. So when those leases are up or they have to renegotiate them, yes, San Francisco is going to have to figure out what the hell to do. But we'll see. We'll see what, if it can be. I would love it to be transitioned into housing, because starting from scratch versus a building that's already there and kind of converting it, I feel like the conversion would be cheaper, but again, I'm not in construction.
Well, I mean, look at what happened at Cumulus, where they realized, oh, we can have people work from home, so we don't need to have 2 floors of a building in San Francisco.
Right.
We can consolidate down into
and
one.
And they rented the other one. They leased it out or subleased it out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now with what happened at KNBR, they can probably have half that floor instead of the whole floor.
Well, I told you that somebody had posted, or they did a video of like the floor at KNBR, and there's like pool tables and skee ball and all. It turned into like a den for men and women. But yeah, it's okay. Whatever.
I'm trying to find a picture of this one because I know it exists, but I don't have it, and it's really cool looking.
What is it?
Have you heard about this micro transit system?
No.
Yeah, this is cool. Contra Costa County is creating a new mode of public transportation. There's a plan in the works to install a 28-mile micro transit system. You could get me on board one of these. It would connect Pittsburgh, Antioch, Brentwood, and Oakley with electric self-driving cars. Officials say users would show up to an access point, get in, head to their destination in half the time. No word on pickup or drop-off points, but the timeline has this thing running in 3 to 4 years. It's like you're on a train almost, but it looks like an individual car. I don't know if more
kind
than
of
one
here. I have a
person
picture of
can-
it. It's just uploading right now. It
Yeah.
kind of looks like a ride at Disneyland or something.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's like mass transit, but not.
Well, I feel like they're trying to give people the illusion that you're in a car. Like, I mean, how many people fit in each of those things? I'm assuming just you and maybe the other person you're traveling with.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, it's not for, multiple
it looks like
families.
a moving
Yeah.
sidewalk in the airport, but then you have like the cover of for the weather. It's like,
So
just
28
hold on.
miles. It's kind of cool looking. It looks very futuristic. What do you
it is
think? Would
very
you get aboard
futuristic.
that thing?
I mean, I would, but again, it has to be in a place in which it makes sense for me to go. So, I
Yeah.
mean, how fast does it travel? Does it say?
It's 28 miles long. It doesn't say how fast they move,
Hmm.
but again, it's connecting Pittsburgh, Antioch, Brentwood, and Oakley in a just straight shot. It's 28-mile straight shot.
Well, because with, and again, I'm just comparing it to things that I know. Like a moving sidewalk, it just maintains a speed. So, like, do they just open the door? Like, you just have to kind of hop
Well,
on.
It has to maintain a certain speed because
It shouldn't stop, right?
it's in a line of them, so it stops at wherever you want to stop. I'm sure it can pull off.
It's like,
If you're like,
stop,
I
drop,
want to
roll.
stop in
Get out.
Antioch, it pulls off at the Antioch loop, right?
Interesting. So what? This is just an idea, or is it actually happening?
Oh, they say it's going to happen. They say the timeline has it running in 3 to 4 years. That they're creating
Wow.
this. This plan is in the works. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I
cute.
want
Those
more
cars are
details on
cute.
the
They're
logistics.
cute.
It is cute. It is cute. So yeah, using an app, the users would show up at an access point, like a bus stop, get in and get off at the destination. However, all pickup and drop off points are still to be determined.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. The devil's in the details, as they always say. So I want to know. I mean, if they're in a line and then they all stop at the same time, how long is this stop? I don't know. I need more details. I want to know how it exactly works. But I like the idea.
I like it. It's like mass transit where you don't have to ride with the rest of humanity.
Right.
You can ride by yourself.
Chris is being negative. Shocker. No one will use it. Okay. Well, maybe. I mean,
Really?
if you build it, they might come. You never know.
I think they'll come. I don't know. I'd rather ride that than a BART train. If I had a choice between an individual mini electric car and a BART train, I think I'm going for the
Yeah, but you don't
my
have control over that
enclosed
car. It's
space.
still just it seems like it's less efficient and it will move fewer people
Yeah.
simply to give people their privacy, right? But I guess
Yeah.
it's if that's the thing that keeps people from using public transportation and you can get more people on this. I just don't understand where they're going to fit the tracks, how fast it's going to move. Because if it moves at like 10 miles per hour, I mean, Jesus, I could ride my bike probably faster than that. So, it matters. These things matter. I don't want it to take me 3 hours just to ride a cool little car.
Remember this guy?
I do remember this gentleman. Yes.
Yep, there's another possible candidate in the race for California's open house seat. Former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo, pictured here, filed paperwork yesterday, but hasn't decided yet if he will run. He's just kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
The 53-year-old says he is exploring next steps. The 16th congressional district includes Silicon Valley and parts of San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. Representative Anna Eshoo holds the seat, but said last month she will not be seeking re-election.
Yeah, and Joe Sabidian is also running for that seat as well. I don't know how I feel about it. I was less than enthralled with Liccardo's tenure as mayor of San Jose. So a lot of the problems I think that we have happened under him. So I don't know. He'd have to sell me. I think he would not. He would definitely not immediately have my vote. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you hear about this? It's interesting. Yesterday, Senator Rand Paul
Mhm.
came to the aid of a choking fellow senator.
Oh, wow. Good for
Yeah.
him.
The Kentucky Republican was present at a lunch event in Washington yesterday when Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa began to choke on her food. So Paul performed the Heimlich maneuver on his fellow GOP lawmaker, allowing her to breathe normally again. Ernst later shared her thanks to the Kentucky senator on social media, where she took the opportunity to say, "Of course, we're choking in Washington, D.C. on all the woke Democratic blah, 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 blah,
Oh,
blah."
God. You have
And
to
then
take.
you're like, you know what? I felt bad for
Never
you
mind.
choking. And
Never
now why don't
mind.
you choke on that again?
You
Does that
know,
mean?
it
That's
it
not very nice, Kim.
it sucks. It really, really sucks. That everything has to be politicized. I mean, it just
Yeah.
can't be. Thank you so much for saving my life. But you know what? Chew your food. We can totally start insulting you as well, right? Like, stop taking what people give you and swallowing it whole. Like, there's so many. We could totally go political with this, but how about you just say, "I'm glad that somebody was there to save my life," and move the frick on, right? Stupid.
Lastly, and this I hope is an uplifting story
Oh, let's hope.
because of how far that we've come. Today is World AIDS Day.
Oh, yes, it is.
In
That's right.
1988, the first World AIDS Day was recognized in a number of countries around the world. Sponsored by the World Health Organization, the day inspired messages from then President Reagan, the Pope, John Paul II, the Secretary General of the UN. They all called for stepped up efforts against the disease. And while big gains have been made to fight AIDS, as it stands now, HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, does remain a major global public health issue, with an estimated 39 million people living with HIV in 2022.
But there's the key right there, is what you just said, living with it. Because back in the 80s, early
wasn't
90s,
it was a
you didn't live
death
with
sentence.
it. You died.
Yeah,
When you found out that you had HIV, it was a death sentence. It was
Yeah.
a death sentence.
Put your
And
affairs in order, you're going.
and it's tragic.
Yeah.
You know, it's really it is amazing how big of the strides we've made. And you know, with things like PrEP and all sorts of drugs, big pharma, right? That's been developed over the years. That is a good thing. Can we eradicate it around the world? That's going to take a lot of money.
Huge, good text from Sam. I'm in Florida right now, he says, and it's not cleaner than California. Just saw a panhandler holding cardboard at a traffic light. DeSantis, he says, is a fool.
You know, I think intellectually, and thank you, Sam, for listening all the way in Florida,
Yeah,
even though you're out of
welcome.
town. You know, I think everybody intellectually knows that all these things happen in states across the country.
Yeah.
We just get all of the attention because, like Newsom said in the debate last night, we have no peers. I mean, we have so many pros, and with it comes so many cons. Another question I wish that Newsom would have put out to DeSantis is, where are you on wages as your housing prices continue to go up? You know, what are you going to do when more and more people, their wages aren't keeping up with the cost of housing and rent and start becoming homeless? Then what do? You can't build more, especially along your coastal regions, because of climate change that you don't want to do anything about, right? So these problems are a coming for places like Florida and Texas and Idaho and all of these kind of red states where poverty is high. You know, it's just disingenuous for them to say, oh, it's only because of a Democratic leadership that California is quote unquote failing. How do you consider failing? You know, look at poverty rates, you know, all those sorts of things in largely red states. And I don't want to do red versus blue with stuff like that, because this is a problem and these are Americans. And I do want to lift all boats. But that debate last night was ridiculous. And we should have known better. We just should have known better. I had high hopes, but we should have known better.
High hopes. Okay, this is the really last story. I was going to not do it, but I'm doing it.
Okay.
Actress Felicity Huffman is speaking out about her role in the Varsity Blues college administration scandal. The Oscar nominee tells KABC television that she paid someone $15,000 to falsify the results of her daughter's SAT test to give her daughter a chance at a future. She also says she felt like she would be a bad mother if she didn't bribe someone to get her daughter into a top college.
That is so awful. How would you feel? This is my whole thing. That whole Varsity Blues thing, it was a physical and public display that you had no freaking faith in your kid. Like, none. I have to pay for them to get to a good school. Why? You don't think that your kid can do it? I mean, and you're freaking rich. How hard is their life going to be anyway? Like, it's so, and I would be so embarrassed. So absolutely embarrassed. The only thing I say about Felicity Huffman is that she admitted it. She didn't do any of this nonsense like Lori Loughlin. Did. She's like, yep, did it. Sorry. Gonna do my time. Gonna pay my bill.
She said she felt like she was going to be a bad mother if she didn't bribe someone.
You're a bad mother because you did bribe somebody, woman.
Exactly. Huffman says her decision, of course, led to FBI agents arresting her and waking her daughters up at gunpoint. Huffman pleaded guilty to federal charges in May of 2019, spent 11 days in prison, and paid a $30,000 fine and did some community service as well.
And I'm just wondering what William H. Macy was thinking. He's like, son of a bitch. Like, I told you what, he knew, but he totally got off without like being, involved in it because it was obviously Felicity. And I love it because it's so typical of some marriages, right? Where it's like the wife is like, I'm doing it. I don't care what you say. This is important to me and we're going to do it. And the husband's like, whatever, woman, just keep me out of it. Right? Like you've got it. You're on a rant about something. And right. I do believe Felicity Huffman really seriously thought that she needed to do this.
Yeah.
It's sad though. It's sad that the circle that she lives in with the pressure, right? I'm not playing a violin, but it is a reality for these people. You're at a certain stature and then this person's saying something and we're going to start feeling it really soon, Kim, when our kids start going to college and all the parents like, well, little Johnny went here and it's like, shove it up your ass. Like, I don't want to hear it. Right? Like,
who cares?
Like, stop comparing. Stop comparing.
If your child is successful and gets into a great college
and is happy, how about that? Happy.
Awesome. That's wonderful for them. And what a great accomplishment. But if your child has to go to the JC, that's fine too.
It is.
And that's what I've been telling Julia. Listen, the college you want to go to is really, really hard to get into. Have a backup plan.
Give
and
it
if
a
that's
shot.
the JC,
yes.
That's fine because it's easier to get in as a transfer student. So don't worry about it. Right?
Exactly. Like, and there is no failing at this point. It's like, just keep going forward, keep progressing and stay happy, stay sane. Don't stress yourself out. Don't become depressed. Like, these are the things that are happening because parents like Felicity Huffman are saying they have to go to this school or I have failed as a parent. You're failing as a parent by instilling this in your kids. That's how you're failing.
I think they're trying to keep the circle of success high. Maybe once you attain that level of, I don't know, monetary financial success, then you're in the in group.
Don't worry. Nepotism is still a thing. She's Felicity Huffman and William H. Macy's child. Do not worry. Your kid will be fine. Like,
everything's okay.
Break. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Speaking of success and financial security, this report is sponsored by you.
Yes.
That means we rely on you to support the show. The NikkiMedoroShow.com is where you can find all the stuff. And of course, thank you to everyone who is taking advantage of the super chats and super stickers here on the show. The NikkiMedoroShow.com. Oh, is this Doug for $10?
Doug for $10. Blue
so
Spark
nice.
for $10. Harry for $5. Love each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Huge thank you. I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Nikki Medoro Show.
All right. So how many of you would go on a honeymoon with your friends? I love my friends. I love my friends. I love going on vacation with my friends. I don't get to do it as much as I like to. Chill out, dog. Sorry about that. I love the idea of going out with my friends, but after my wedding, maybe before, right? Like if I was doing a destination wedding, and the reason we're talking about this is because buddy moons are becoming a thing. Celebrities are doing them, influencers, whatever. They are having these destination weddings. All their friends come. They're like, hey, let's just go and continue to travel Europe together. Maybe before the wedding, definitely not after the wedding. I just feel like there is a point where it should just be you guys. I feel like you would miss out on something that's vital. Like, and when I was teasing the story, a lot of you were saying, oh, they probably have lived together before, so what's the big deal? There is a difference. I lived with James for years with other people. We had roommates years before we got married. And I will tell you, there is a difference when it's just you guys. It just is. It is. There's different things. There's less distractions, right? There's less people to blame for the dishes in the sink and all kinds of stuff, or, the good and the bad and everything in between. And so I do think that there is a difference between being married and just dating for a long period of time. And I definitely wouldn't want to start off my married life still partying with people as if we're dating. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense to me.
Although, if they want to stay in Europe, let's just say I got married in Europe and my friends and family members wanted to stay in Europe. That's great, but I'm not planning my honeymoon and my trips and my excursions. What if I want to lay on the beach and then go up to the room for a little bit, right? Like, I don't want to have to clear it with people or be like, we'll be gone for a little bit.
Plus, this is the moment to celebrate together, to, be together. Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
Lady Beatrice says, vacation with friends is fun, but the honeymoon is a time for yourselves. Maybe a friend trip after. Kim says, after my cousin's wedding in Ireland, there were some group activities that happened the next week. So I guess technically I've been on a buddy moon. Yeah, if you did it with a husband and wife, then yes, you did. James says, my wife and I dated for over 8 years before we got married and did not live together until we got married.
Oh,
good for you. I mean, I either way, whatever way you want to do it. I was going to ask him, like, well, were you acting like husband and wife beforehand? But that's too much information. You don't have to share that with me. My parents dated for 4 years, but they didn't live together. No, they did not live together before they got married either.
No, back in those days, that would have been living in sin, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure they were committing other sins, but whatever. Let's see. I feel like destination to hedonism too with your friends, Nikki. Yeah. No. Have you ever heard of hedonism? It's like sandals, but for people that just want to have orgies or whatever, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Rock on. No. Whatever floats your boat.
No, thank you. Let's see. Gordon says, I think it is better to live together before marriage. I subscribe to that as well. Now, could you live together with, and let's even say roommates, and not consummate, but you're not consummating because you're not married yet, but not do the do. I think that would be really hard. You can have separate bedrooms, right? If that's the way you wanted to live your life. Deidre says, best destination wedding was in New Orleans. We all partied before the wedding. That I like. Bachelorette parties. You could party it up. You're in a great destination. But after the wedding, no, thank you. Ooh, mama of 3 boys. I had a bachelorette a weekend with friends before I got married. It was the most fun I've ever had at Disneyland.
Oh, fun.
Never thought about having a bachelorette party at Disneyland.
I don't think, when Kim was talking about how there were a couple events that week for people that are still there, you're still on your honeymoon. You're still doing your things. But if you want to meet everyone for dinner one night, fine.
Yeah, that's
do
fine.
What you want to do. That's
I just don't want to plan
right?
anything with anybody else. I don't want to plan anything. You guys are at dinner and I'm like, okay, we'll make it for dinner. Fine. But I'm not planning anything with anybody but my new husband on my honeymoon.
It's interesting. I never heard that term before, buddy moon.
I haven't heard it either.
And I just did a search for it. And there's a movie named Buddy Moon.
Oh, is there? Who's in it?
Yeah, it's from 2016. It's an American independent comedy. Written and directed by Alex Simmons, Flula Borg, and David Giantoli. A lot of starring Borg and Giantoli. But it looks funny. It looks like they're just out, 2 friends out on a trip. But
it is that kind of the same definition.
I don't know. I don't know if it's someone was married first or if it's just 2 buddies taking a buddy moon. I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Joe says, my husband's family came on our honeymoon. Cultural difference got me totally off guard. Wow.
No.
How much did you have to do with the family? Everything? Did you travel everywhere together, or were they just in the location? Because now I get cultural, if you know it going into it, okay. But if it's dropped on you, oh, and by the way, our entire family's coming on our honeymoon, I would not be okay with that.
No.
Jess says you have to live together to see if they're a great person to live with. Try before you buy. And you don't have to try everything. I mean, you can stay a virgin if that's important to you. Oh, buddy moon. It looks like it's straight to video type.
It looks like two guys on a hiking trip. I don't know.
Buddy moon. Or it could, it could go another way. Who knows? I have never seen the movie, so we do not know.
Yeah.
Chris says, if you date longer than 2 months, I love this. I know this is tongue in cheek. You're too cheap to get married. Yeah, 2 months. No, I have told my kids.
What?
I think he's being silly. I told my kids you should definitely date for several years. depending on your age. Like we were talking about the Golden Bachelor before, I think they're going to immediately start planning the wedding because, you know, they're older. I think they know what they want and that sort of thing. I'm not saying it's going to work out. I'm not saying that at all. But I like the idea of 4 years. The first 2 years, you should be in the honeymoon phase. If you have to go to counseling together within the first year or two of your relationship, cut it off. Yeah. Oh, we love each other. We want to make it work. You can't make it work. Okay. That's supposed to be the I don't even see your flaws area. If you are already in counseling within the first 2 years, I'm going to put on my psychologist hat and be like, just cut. Just before you have kids,
cut your losses,
houses, anything, complications, do not do it. But then the third and fourth years, that's when you decide, like, okay, are we going to S or get off the pot, right? Like, what are we doing here? Jim said, I had a delayed honeymoon to save up after that expensive wedding. And when I planned the Japan trip with a tour, my brother-in-law joined the same tour, but he had his own room and it was fine. Oh, just your brother-in-law? So you, your new wife, and her brother?
Weird.
That's a little, not knocking at Jim. If you had no problem with it, that's fine. But that's like if my brother was like, hey, you're going to Italy? I want to go to Italy. I'll get my own room. I'm like, kick rocks, dude. Like, plan your own trip. That's just me, though. I think you're very kind, Jim, for allowing your brother-in-law, your new brother-in-law, to join in the trip. Let's see. Okay, so Ken says, got married in Cabo, partied with all the guests that week. Then after the wedding, went to Cancun for the honeymoon. See, that's nice. But gosh, so you went Cabo to Cancun. Okay, nice.
So we got married in Maui, right?
Okay.
And then the next day left for the Big Island. And the rest
you left
of
everybody
my
on Maui.
family and friends, they had a great vacation in Maui, and we were off on the Big Island by ourselves.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like there has to be, and I think I told you guys this, or maybe I told Kim before the show. My parents it's their 50th wedding anniversary next year, and
That's
we were
Nikki.
planning a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah.
The whole location fell through, so now we're going to Puerto Rico, which is great because I've been before, but my husband hasn't. Obviously, my kids haven't gone or anything like that. But the first idea was to go to like Bali and San Martin, and I was like St. Martin's. I was like, I'm not bringing my children to like one of the most romantic places that I've ever wanted to go to with my husband, cramming into timeshares with the rest of my family. No, we're not doing that. Puerto Rico, fine. I'm not doing anything farther than that. And so, yeah, there were a bunch of romantic islands thrown out as ideas. Cayman Islands. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that with my children. I love my kids, but no, that's not happening.
I'm sure there are kid areas for them.
I don't want my children in a romantic location. And that is not mean to say. There are romantic locations. There are places where, you know what, Kim McAllister, there are places where I want to find, topless beaches or something like that. Like I want to go on a romantic vacation with my husband and go on a romantic vacation with my husband. Not with my children. I'm sorry. I don't want to care. And even though they're of the age where they can kind of roam a little bit by themselves, I don't want to be where I'm a mom. Like hell's no. No.
So
no,
what's
no.
the current plan? Are they still doing the Caribbean?
Oh yeah, we're staying in Puerto Rico. We're flying. I just bought my tickets yesterday.
Okay.
Puerto Rico. And then we've been before. And once we get there, like the tickets were expensive, but I'm hoping that we can plan some economical excursions and things like that. We're not doing like a cruise or anything. We're just staying in PR. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited about it. And then of course my parents' 50th is in April, but then we're going on vacation together. So like my brother's an ordained minister or whatever. So he's going to do something on the beach or whatever. So yeah, so it'll be fun. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Deidre says, I agree, Nikki. My kids are not invited to come to Maui with us. I'm not knocking my kids. I love to go on vacation. I want to go to Italy. It's my dream to go to Italy. I would love to at least split some of that vacation with my kids to expose them to things. But if I'm going, I want to go to Bali. I want to go to St. Martin's. I want to go to all these places. I don't want to go with my children. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Murphy has it right. Kids at a destination is not a vacation. It's a family trip and it's work.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks all for chiming in on that. Let's do some movies and streaming now with our friend Tim Sika. Hello, Tim.
Hi, ladies. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was delicious. It was stress-free.
We always eat too much. Yeah, don't we always eat too much? Yeah.
I ate too much, and the Niners won, so it was fabulous. How was yours?
Yeah, similar. I
Good.
can't add anything of worth to what you just said.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot real quickly before we go to movies and streaming, though, Tim.
Sure. Put me on the spot.
Okay, I was asking people this one question. So there was this article recently, I'm sure you've seen it, where the casting director of Elf, even though there's no remake of Elf being planned, was asked if you were going to remake Elf, who would you use? And she said something like Bill Hader. And I was thinking to myself, don't touch Elf. It's perfect with Will Ferrell. But is there, and you could choose either best, worst, or both, remakes. What movie do you think you loved the remake, or what movie do you believe should never have been touched?
Okay, the first one that comes to mind, I'm awful at this, but the first one that comes to mind is they remade a movie I love that came out in the 50s. It was called Sabrina with Audrey Hepburn.
Yes, I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, they remade it with Harrison Ford, and you're watching it, and all the time you're thinking of the original, and you're going, why?
Yeah.
Why? You know, and I think it's kind of hubris sometimes when people think they want to remake movies that are considered classics. It's like, well, what on earth could you bring to the subject that they haven't already done perfectly? Why do you want to remake it? Why don't you just point to the original? I can't imagine them remaking Elf. I'm sorry. I just can't.
I love Elf. I kept saying, I watched it the other day when we were staying at a hotel room over the holiday weekend. And every time Will Ferrell goes, I love you, I love you, I love you, I say it with him. He's the best. He is the best. And you can't make it.
You know, I got a chance to interview Will Ferrell for that movie, and I actually got him to sing Santa Claus is Coming to Town a cappella in the interview. Yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, I actually think I saw Sabrina with Harrison Ford. I've seen the original as well, and I kind of agree with you. But I also think that they're always hoping to expose people to a movie that they're just never going to watch because they're younger, right?
Yeah,
so,
that could be. Yeah. But I just say, put the effort that you're putting into making an inferior remake into pointing in the direction to people the original. I mean, I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know.
All right. Okay. Well, let's get to all the movies that you did watch or stream. Let's see. What are we gonna? We're gonna start with this one because I think Natalie was just asking about it. Godzilla -1.
Yeah, Godzilla -1. I don't know why it's called Godzilla -1, but I'm still trying to figure that out. Well, it's a monster movie, of course. My God. Godzilla never dies, and he's never gonna die, right? Do you know how many Godzilla movies that they've made, you guys?
No.
Try. This is the 37th one.
Whoa.
Wow. And I know that there's a TV show or a series that has to do with Godzilla, right?
Yeah, he's the pop icon movie monster that just never quits.
Yeah,
the first one came out in 1954, so by my count, that's what, like 69 years. So well, anyway, Godzilla -1. I think that this is one of the best of the Godzilla movies. I've seen pretty much all of them because it combines everything I think that made the Godzilla monster movie so popular and appealing in the first place. Godzilla's been around since 1954 with the first Godzilla movie, and that one was really, really serious. But over the years, Godzilla went from being an enemy, to, eating these people alive, to a friend, where they would enlist his help and say, Godzilla, help us, and a lot of the Godzilla movies were silly and goofy and comic and campy. And this one has an occasional dose of those things, but it's primarily very, very serious. It takes place in Japan shortly after the end of World War II. The plot's basically, Godzilla going back to his origins. He just shows up one day and starts terrorizing Tokyo and wreaking mass destruction. And so, the Japanese are saying, well, how can we kill this creature? He's indestructible. Well, they decide to kill him by using the power of the sea from whence he came. So that's all you need to know about the plot. And it's a beautifully directed monster movie with the scene. There are scenes of what I would call like sonic power, where you're overwhelmed. If you see this in the theater, well, that's the only place you can see it right now is in the theater. If you watch it in the theater, the sound design literally engulfs you, and then it's almost overwhelming. And then those scenes are juxtaposed with these scenes of deafening silence, the kind of silence that you can cut with a knife. So that's very, very effective. And I think if you're a fan of Godzilla, you'll approve of this movie. And if this is your first introduction to him, yeah, he's a he. I doubt you'll be disappointed. It's a really good monster movie, like an old-fashioned monster movie, but with modern day technology.
Yeah, and that show, it's on Apple TV. Monsters is about Godzilla as well, so this just goes along with all the Godzilla. Yeah, Godzilla's having another moment.
Yes, another moment in the sun. You guys are way better on keeping up to date with all this other stuff.
There's a lot of things to watch, and I don't fault you for that.
Right?
Louise says it's -1 because after the devastation of World War II, Japan was at 0. Godzilla, after that devastation, took them beyond 0 to negative.
Oh, wow! Who said that?
One of our viewers.
Well, Janet, did you say was her name?
No, Louise.
Oh, Louise. Thank you, Louise. Yeah, no, thank you. I needed to be informed on that.
There you go. They were at 0. Okay, let's move on. Now, Disney's been getting some mixed reviews for some of its releases. What did you think about Wish?
Yeah, it's the latest Walt Disney animated feature. It's a musical that pays homage to all of the great Disney animated musicals of the past, but with some 21st century twists and nods to our changing culture. And it's about a leader, King Magnifico, I think his name is. He's voiced and sung by Chris Pine, who actually doesn't have a bad voice, although I'm sure they've auto-tuned it. Anyway, He claims to grant the wishes and the desires of his subjects at his empire's annual wish ceremonies, but there's something else afoot here, let's just say. And yeah, I'll just come out and say it. This is a fascist movie musical for kids, is what it is. Wow. It's a musical about, I don't know if anybody's pointing that out, and maybe that's a spoiler, but I got to say this. It's a musical about fascism embodied in the character of this King Magnifico and taken right out of the headlines about our 45th president. I'm not kidding. I don't know what the wee ones are going to think of it or how they're going to react to it. I saw it at a preview screening, and there were a number of kids there. They didn't seem to respond to it at all. These were youngsters, I would say under 9, but at the end of the movie, they all applauded. So I don't know what's up with that or what that means, but it has a good runtime, 95 minutes. So it's like a manageable runtime. There's a lot of songs in the movie, which I thought were lousy.
We are not giving a thumbs up on this one.
Well, wait a minute. No, I am. I'm actually recommending this because of what it tackles. The songs are lousy. And there's lousy or slant rhyme lyrics. I hate. Trouble does not rhyme with crumble, and coming does not rhyme with running. And even the lyrics that do rhyme are cringeworthy. There's a lyric, I'm a star, here I are. I mean, talk about teaching kids bad grammar. And then there's another one, something I remember, when your hopes are in despair, give them air. Ugh. Anyway, but all that critical blather aside, I recommend this movie, and I'll tell you why. I think politically savvy parents, which both you and Nikki and you, Kim, are, if you take your kids to see this, if you have small ones to see Wish and talk about what you've seen after the movie's ended, I think that's worth it alone. I give Disney a whole lot of credit for making a kids movie about a fascist dictator. And yeah, the evil is shifted here too. Disney animated movies always have like featured evil women, like the evil stepmother and Maleficent. But in this one, it's the man, excuse me, who deserves the eventual comeuppance. Anyway, it's a rather bold and timely animated musical. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I always have issues with everything because I see too many movies. But I think in the end, it's worth seeing and discussing with your kids.
That is interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I have never thought about all the Disney villains being women before. That's true, isn't it?
They have
women.
been.
They're not
Cruella
all
DeVille,
women.
the evil stepmother.
Well, the famous ones, when you think Disney villains, you think Disney villainesses. You really do. You know?
Well, I mean, in The Lion King, it was what was his name? Scar.
Mustafa. Oh, yeah,
Mustafa.
Scar.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Well, I'm talking about the ones that Disney actually produced himself, like the ones pre-1966.
Oh, I
before
see.
he
I see.
died.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are the ones people
Woman
know
hater
the most.
Disney.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, speaking of women, let's move on to this one. The disappearance, and I'm not even going to pronounce the name because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, Cher Height.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's how
I know.
okay.
You know the title of this movie initially to me was a turnoff, but this is one of the best movies of the week, and the year for that matter. It's a documentary about Cher Height, who was this feminist sex researcher who nobody ever really talks about anymore, but who, in terms of sex history and research, more than deserves to be mentioned alongside sex researchers Kinsey and Masters and Johnson. And this movie attempts quite brilliantly and effectively to educate, to inform its viewers, and to redress that historic omission. You know, what became of Cher Height and why is she practically forgotten today? Have you two ever heard of her?
No.
Yeah, see,
No,
this
I've
is
never heard of
interesting.
her. That's why
this is
it's not
really, and this is so interesting. So do you remember the Height Report? I'm old enough to remember the Height Report.
Sorry.
Well, so it was the first sex study that focused directly on female sexuality, and when it was published in 1976, more or less rocked the literary and scientific research world. I don't think you can even get this book anymore. I think I looked it up on Amazon, and I think you can get a copy for $200. It's so rare, but it sold millions and millions of copies. And its author was Cher Height, who was this American-born German sex educator and feminist. And the Height Report is the work for which she is best known. And this movie's about her life, her work, what she was up against in the male-dominated scientific and academic worlds for being so outspoken and an early feminist, you know, for being a woman and for even having dared to write about women's sexuality. And it's about her fall from grace and popularity and into relative obscurity. She's hardly even mentioned today. You guys never even heard of her.
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested to watch this now. Yeah.
Well, she's not even known by many active young feminists or the movement in general today. I loved every bit of this movie. It's in my top 10 best movies of 2023. I cannot recommend it enough. I hope this movie is seen by as many people as possible and it gets the attention it deserves. I came away from it not only loving this woman, but loving all of the amazing work she's done on behalf of women and men who crave understanding and empathy about the human condition. It's superb. It really is superb.
Nice. Put that on the watch list, you guys. Put that on the watch list.
Right now it's just in theaters, but it'll be streaming soon.
Was she like the original Dr. Ruth?
I wouldn't compare her to Dr. Ruth only because her approach was different. She was actually, when you see what she looks, she actually looked like one of the classic movie stars, like Greta Garbo or Joan Crawford. She was a beautiful woman, but she kind of used that. She kind of threw that back into the culture and used it for a much, much deeper purpose, which is to let people know about, you know, women and their desires.
The fact that they have sexuality and everything.
It's such a great movie. It just was an eye opener for me because I knew who she was, and I remember the book came out in 1976, and I remember like I was told because I went to Catholic school, don't go near it. If
you're told that in Catholic school, that's the first thing you want to do, right?
Right. But I didn't read it, but eventually I still haven't read it actually, but I know of it, and it's anyway, that's what this movie is. It's a great movie.
All right, let's move on to American Symphony.
Yeah, this is another. Netflix. Yeah, this is on Netflix. It's another documentary. It's a music doc, almost a biographical doc, and it's about a year in the life of musician John Batiste, who was formerly the musical director on Late Night with Stephen Colbert. He left after a while, and they explain that in this movie. And this film was all put together, shot, edited, directed, produced by one of my favorite documentary filmmakers. His name is Matthew Heineman. And it's really a love letter to a friend. And on that basis, I can't rain on this movie's parade. although I'd like to, because it's very well intentioned and affectionate and loving, and it's uplifting too. So, I'm not even going to go with my issues with this movie, because the character of John Baptiste, I knew he was on late night, and I used to, I'd watch his segments and stuff, and he's obviously a kind man. He's a very thoughtful and deep man. There are some beautiful observations in this movie he makes about music and the highs and lows of life. The film chronicles his creation of what he called an American symphony, hence the title of this movie, and his simultaneously dealing with his wife's cancer. On the night he won 5 Grammys and he was nominated for 11, his wife's cancer ironically reemerged. So yeah, it's a good movie. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
It's now streaming on Netflix. I just thought it was, I guess my criticisms are, I thought it was a bit too, what's that word? Hagiographic. So it was like worshipful. And I'm thinking, this guy can't be
it's like a
saint.
gift to the person.
Yeah,
instead of
but
like
that's
really
okay. If I was making a movie about my friend, I'd probably do the same. So,
right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have 2 more we have to get to. Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, this was the movie I was kind of dreading
Wow.
because
He looks so different.
I know, right? It's getting to the point for me where watching Nicolas Cage go bonkers or play bonkers on screen, I was becoming a bit much. But he is great here in this movie.
Oh, nice.
It's a cringe comedy. It's interesting. Kim said he looks so different. He is in this movie. It's a cringe supernatural horror comedy. And in this movie, he's pretty restrained. And this time around, he happens to be the cause for others going bonkers, right? The premise is very clever. He plays this insecure college professor of, I think it was evolutionary biology, who one day finds that he's the subject of a lot of people's dreams. He inexplicably and mysteriously keeps popping up in other people's dreams. Initially, he's just standing there doing nothing. But eventually he starts to do things that become darker, let's just say. And it's a cringe comedy, meaning it's kind of uncomfortable. It's like Biosphere was, not at all like Biosphere in terms of narrative, but that kind of humor where you just go, ew.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it's also a kind of a satire. It takes aim at Gen Zers. It takes aim at fame. It takes aim at capitalism and mostly our obsession with things like TikTok and how we sometimes irrationally react on social media to events about which we virtually know nothing. I mean, we create all kinds of online firestorms, and then we're looking back going, well, we really did never need to indulge in that.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
It's creepy, consistently funny, it's thought-provoking, and it's a wild and amusing ride.
Oh,
It
good.
wins-
And this is in theaters, Tim?
It's in theaters, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more quick one that we're going to do before we end the show. May, December, Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore, 2 actresses I love.
Oh, yeah. This is a brilliant and what I would call a stand you on your ear drama. It's Todd Haynes' latest movie, and it's this mesmerizing drama. It's inspired by Mary Kay Letourneau. You guys know who Mary Kay Letourneau was?
Oh, yes.
She middle-aged school
Flower,
teacher. She had an affair with a 12-year-old student. She became pregnant by him. She had his baby in prison. She got out of prison, went back to the boy, got pregnant again, went back to prison for 7 years, got out of prison, and then married this boy who had since become of legal age. You can't make this stuff up, right? Anyway, it's a story loosely inspired on that incident, but it's really more about this actress played by Natalie Portman, she's on the right there, who travels to the South to meet and study the life of this controversial woman played by Julianne Moore, whose life closely parallels Mary Kay Letourneau's. So in other words, she's been signed to play this role in a film to be shot in like 3 weeks or something. And then she goes to this woman's home to study her and her family in the hopes of gaining some insight into how to portray her in the movie that she's going to star in.
Okay.
And that premise alone, this is a wow movie. It casts a spell, and what it explores basically, to me, the ethics of, even if you justify it, family and personal invasion for the sake of one's art. And it is excellent. I watched it twice, and it's one of those dramas that's so well done. Really, I'm not watching anything twice these days because I'm just trying to catch up because I got to vote soon. But it's so well done, so layered, so meta, and so nuanced that its true richness as a piece of cinema just becomes more and more apparent the more times you watch it. I know people aren't always into watching movies again, but I wanted to watch this movie again because there was so much nuance in it that I missed, even though I was totally focused on it the first time. Anyway, it streams on Netflix today, and look for it to be included in this year's Oscar nominations. It's called December.
Awesome. I like
great.
it. And I love the whole Mary Kay Letourneau is just totally fascinating to me, and especially how it's all turned out. But there's a lot of good things to watch. Tim Sika, I really appreciate you always coming on and giving us your take on things to watch and stream.
Yeah, thanks for all the time too. I think I've just about anyway, I'll shut up. Bye, you ladies. I'll talk to you next
Have a good week, and we'll talk to you
We
next
love
week.
you. Bye.
All right, that is our show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay here, right here on the YouTube. Mark Thompson with Kim McAllister is next, and then Kim McAllister and John Daly for the after party. Big thank yous to people that donated to our super chat. Doug came in with the $10 super sticker. So did Blue Spark with $10. Harry started us off, of course, with a $5 donation. You can still donate even if you watch this in replay with our super chat that is live. But please go to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and sign up to be a monthly Patreon subscriber. Have a fabulous week. I'm going to go chug some cough syrup right now, Kim McAllister.
Oh, you poor thing. Feel
it's
better.
Okay. I know. I had to get a little bit more sympathy from you before I let you go.
Poor baby. My sweet little Nickster.
I'll be fine. All right. Love you guys. Bye. Mwah.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.